I guess if you had 5 minutes with Charlie Kirk, what might you ask him?
I really had no interest in discussing with Charlie Kirk. You know, Charlie has become sort of a martyr now, and of course, I don't believe he deserved to die. I wish he was still alive. That being said, people forget, what was Charlie Kirk's business?
What's up, man? This your boy Mazza Capone, man. Now, being that Nick Fuentes and Charlie Kirk were mortal enemies, I think that conversation will be anything but contemptuous.
He made $140 million per year at Turning Point USA. $140 million per year for a campus organization. You don't make that kind of money unless you are really taking money from everybody. Everybody will give
Facts.
it to you. Billionaires, Silicon Valley, special interests, India. I mean, you name it. They were taking money from everybody. And
You know, Charlie Kirk, well, he was getting buku money from these billionaire elites. He's getting money big time from Israel. So yeah, Charlie Kirk was getting it. He was making millions of dollars per year through Turning Point.
there's this debate about what Charlie Kirk's real views really were about Israel, for example. And the pro-Israel people say Charlie was with us until he died. The anti-Israel people say, no, he was changing his mind. Now, how can both of these things be true? Because Charlie would tell people what they wanted to hear. He was everything to everybody.
Right.
And so to the pro-Israel crowd, he was pro-Israel until September 10th. To the anti-Israel crowd, if he had been alive for a couple more months, he would have really stuck it to them. And I think at the bottom, he didn't really have many real convictions. Other than that, I do believe he was a sincere Christian.
Well, you know, Charlie Kirk was a phony. Charlie Kirk was fake. You know what I'm saying? Whatever group he was in front of, Charlie Kirk was that to them, as Nick just said. So Charlie Kirk told people what they wanted to hear. Because now you have Candace Owens spewing out all these conspiracies, which some of that shit might be true. But at the same time, as Nick just said, Charlie Kirk was everything to everybody. Whatever person he was in front of, he was that to that person.
And for that, I respect him. I do believe that he was pro-America, and so I respect him for that. Outside of it, we had a very intense and vicious feud because he was entrenched in politics and genital outsider. So I really wouldn't have much to say to him, to tell you the truth.
I have to know, what do you think about Erika Kirk?
Well, you know, I got a lot of flack for this.
Yeah.
I criticized Erika Kirk. But look, nobody wants to say anything about Erika Kirk because she's a grieving widow. And so that's just decency. Nobody wants to attack a young woman who lost her husband to a vicious public execution and now has 2 fatherless children. Right. That being said, nobody would be saying anything if she went home and grieved. But she didn't do that.
Facts. Big facts. This is the same woman that filmed herself over Charlie Kirk's casket. Guys, that alone is weird. I mean, say what you want, but that's weird. That is weird. And, you know, 3 days later, all of a sudden, she's the CEO. She's the boss lady now. You know, the proper thing for this woman to do is go home and with your small children and be there for them and grieve. That's the proper thing to do. But now she's on all these TV shows. She's doing these PR runs. You know, she's on Fox News and she's promoting the book. And you can't have it both ways. You know, you want to respect her as being a grieving woman because she lost her husband. She has 2 kids, but she's putting herself out there. So you have to take what comes with it.
She immediately assumed control of Turning Point USA, which already was one of the most influential, powerful, conservative nonprofits and for-profit entities in the conservative movement, and which became far more powerful after Charlie died because of his apparent martyrdom. So,
facts.
Within 72 hours, she becomes Charlie's successor. And now she's in Washington, D.C., it seems, all the time, with J.D. Vance, with Donald Trump, with all these other powerful people. Now, I'm going to tell you what I don't like. I don't like when people take tragedy or a sob story or something that's emotionally impactful and they use it as cover so you can't ask questions or criticize. And I feel like that's what is happening here. Like I said, if she were a widow grieving, no one should or could say anything about her. It would be out of line. But we're not talking about Erika Kirk, the grieving widow. We're talking about Erika Kirk, the president of Turning Point USA and close personal friend of J.D. Vance.
Facts. I'm not no big fan of Nick Fuentes like that. However, when you're right, I'm with you. Everything he said is spot on. I can't knock him for that. He's telling the truth. Erika Kirk, she's putting herself out here. But at the same time, people want you to respect her as this grieving widow. Nah, you can't have it both ways. When you put yourself out here, right, you have to take what comes with this. And I know what Erika Kirk will probably say is, well, I'm fulfilling Charlie Kirk's commitments. No, you're trying to be in the spotlight. You're trying to, what I'm saying, you're trying to get a spot in politics. That's what you're trying to do, which looks suspicious to everybody else with any kind of logic.
Heir apparent of MAGA. We can't ask questions about who this person is. We can't criticize or be skeptical of who she is because she cries. See, that I feel is manipulative, and that I don't like.
Is she really crying? I mean, like, every time I see Erika Kirk, it seems real performative. When she cries, she's doing all this bullshit. You know what I'm saying? There are no tears. So is she really crying? Is she really torn over Charlie Kirk? That remains to be seen. That remains a clue, because everything she's done up to this point is performative. I'm just saying, no disrespect to Erika Kirk, you know what I'm saying? Sorry for her loss. Well, hell, not sorry, but no disrespect to her. But up until this point, everything that she does seems kind of weird and performative.
So when people start to tell me for emotional or moral reasons, you can't ask that question, that's when I get even more suspicious. So Erika Kirk, I don't know her, and that's sort of the thing. Who really is she? I don't think anybody knows, actually.
Not to force you to give a take on it without evidence, but what do you think could be happening?
Facts, because Erika Kirk is very disingenuous, because she said the whole time when she was living in New York, she didn't date. Meanwhile, we find that she was on a whole goddamn dating show. So what other lies is this woman telling?
With her.
What I think, without knowing her or knowing Charlie personally, for that matter, I get that their marriage was political. I think it was arranged. And this happens in elite circles.
Facts, yep.
Charlie was an ambitious and increasingly very powerful, very young man. Erika, from what I'm told, it was her desire to marry political royalty. She's one of these people. I don't know who her parents are, but she's since been seen in music videos and reality shows. She was trying to make a name for herself. And so you tend to find that among people who...
Well, both of them come from wealthy families. So that's nothing that's unheard of. She comes from a wealthy family, and Charlie Kirk comes from a wealthy family. So he was becoming a powerful man. And, women like her, they want to be with they want a powerful husband. So I don't really not that. That's not unheard of. It's not uncommon. That happened amongst elite people.
Who are rich and famous or influential, they don't meet their wife at a coffee shop or on a dating app. They get set up by other people.
Facts.
This powerful man needs a wife. This young lady wants to marry a powerful man. They get set up. And I get the sense, and I've heard a rumor, that that was something like an arranged marriage. Now, that doesn't mean there's inherently anything sinister going on there. And maybe they grew to love each other eventually, but it does speak to the fact that, maybe everything about Charlie Kirk's life was a fabrication. Candace Owens said it's like the Truman Show. It was a created world. Now, what Candace gets wrong is she thinks Charlie was a victim. I think he knew full well. He gave himself fully to the political grift, and that comes with it. Fake talking points, fake friends, fake patrons, fake messaging.
Yeah, Charlie Kirk was a grifter. Now a lot of times people try to equate him to or correlate him to Martin Luther King. No, the fuck he wasn't. Charlie Kirk was a motherfucking glorified podcaster. That's all he was. Now, was he a great organizer? Yes. Was he an accomplished man? Yes. Did he get shit done? Yes. But he was nowhere near MLK. Because MLK didn't have all these millionaires backing him, all these billionaires backing him like that. MLK got it out the mud. He was really in the trenches, getting hosed down, stabbed, shot, getting rocks thrown at you. Charlie Kirk didn't go through no shit like that. Charlie Kirk was not no civil rights leader. In fact, Charlie Kirk, in reality, he was a scumbag.
And yeah, maybe even on some level, his family life was an artifice. It was sort of manufactured for public consumption. Now, that's me saying that from the outside looking in as someone speculating, but it looks to me like that was an arranged marriage. And if so, you have to wonder, does this woman have political ambitions? Because that's what everybody's thinking.
Yeah, she does.
This is your Kyle Rittenhouse. This is your, whatever. This is your political victim who is now going to give a political endorsement or maybe be a political contender in the future. That's what makes me a little skeptical. When she said this line about the cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry, and she goes up on the show a week after his death and says, we have more business.
That's the part when she's talking tough. When she makes that little mean face. Stop. Like you supposed to be intimidating somebody. Yeah. Erika Kirk, man. Erika Kirk is just weird to me.
Than ever. We're going to keep fighting. It's like, okay, so now you're a political figure. Oh, and also I can't criticize you because you were the victim of a tragedy. Yeah, something's not right there.
I was surprised, Nick, that maybe I hadn't consumed enough of your content. Charlie was murdered, but I think I tuned into the live stream that night, assuming that you were like, this is a setup. I think a lot of people tuned in thinking that would be the case. It seemed as though you were quick to vehemently deny it was any kind of paid person to kill Charlie. You were like, this is an actual person, like a crazy person that killed him. Like, why was that so quickly your stance, I guess?
Well, because the big reason why I doubted there was any conspiracy is because Trump is in charge. So who would be conspiring? The FBI? It's Trump's FBI. Who would be conspiring? Trump's intelligence agencies? Trump was an ally of Charlie Kirk.
Right. And
Charlie Kirk was not a radical. He was not a disruptor. He was
Facts. Trump was an ally to Charlie Kirk, and Charlie Kirk was an ally to Trump. Charlie Kirk is one of the main reasons why Trump even got elected. A big part. Seriously. So all these little conspiracies that people keep throwing out there, that the Jews and the French and all this shit, untrue. A young white man killed him.
a reliable ally of the system. He was a reliable ally of Israel, a reliable of the Trump government, a reliable ally of all the special interests that power the Trump government. Like I said, Turning Point was bringing in $140 million per year because they were happy with Charlie's work. So if somebody like Tucker got killed, everybody would know who to blame. If somebody like Candace got killed, everybody would know who to blame. Same thing with me. But the idea that Charlie Kirk was some kind of martyr for telling truth to power is so ridiculous because he was the power. He was an ally and a pawn of the power. Moreover, you look at the assassination. There were all sorts of doubts and questions that were raised in the early days. But when you really get down to it, this was not a sophisticated plot. The rooftop where Charlie was shot from, everybody had access to. No ladder required, no special equipment, freely accessible by anybody there.
Well, that's correct because his security was lackadaisical. His security was lackadaisical because they was in Utah. They felt the safest they could ever be because they was around their people, white people. Utah is damn near all white. So they probably perceived that as the safest place they could ever be. They didn't that in a million years, no way in a million years they would thought that would have happened to Charlie Kirk in Utah. So that's why they were slipping.
Event had no security perimeter. So they weren't looking at tickets, they weren't checking IDs, anything like this. He got shot once in the neck and then chaos. The guy turned himself in a couple days later. The idea that this was some kind of super sophisticated plot that required know-how and planning, it just isn't true.
Facts.
They were lax. They did not do their due diligence. The idea that somebody walked up on that rooftop without encountering security, which was freely accessible to anybody, and took a shot, to me, that's not crazy. And I would say that we have a lot of that going on. Luigi Mangione, there was a school shooting the same day that Charlie Kirk got killed in Colorado. There was a school shooting by a transgender a couple weeks before that. So I think that, I guess the two flaws in the conspiracy thinking is, one, the idea that Charlie was a target of the powerful, and two, that we don't have a problem with left-wing violence or, crazy left-wingers that want to kill right-wingers. That's
There's no problem with left-wing violence. It's called white violence. That's what it's called. White on white violence. You see, they always make up these little smoke screens and cover-ups to try to bypass and try to not take accountability for white violence. They have everything to say about black on black crime, but when it's white on white crime, it's always something else. It's always pushed off on something else. It was the left. It was the left that did it. No, it was white on white violence. What do you call all these damn school shootings that happened in October? Churches getting shot up. It's called white violence. Let's call it what it is. It's called white on white crime. Once again, they always got these little smoke screens on what white violence is because they don't want to talk about that. They're quick to talk about black on black crime in Chicago. But when it comes to these white men shooting up every damn thing, all these goddamn mass public shootings, it was the left. But anyway, y'all, let me know what you think in the comments, man. What you think about Nick Fuentes and his rant about Erika Kirk. He gave it to her again. He gave her that smoke again, y'all. This your boy Master Capone. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like and subscribe. I love y'all. Appreciate y'all. I'm out.